Welcome to the Christina Loren Show, where we work hard to advance the truth, as the mainstream media backpedals to untangle that big ball of lies they were recently caught red-handed with in regards to President Biden's mental acuity. In this episode, we are going to uncover the dirty politics of the Democrat Party as they tirelessly work to secure their grip on the White House. And we'll analyze how China is strategically leveraging Biden's wide-open border policy while working hand-in-hand with Mexican drug cartels. But first, I'd like to begin by acknowledging a tremendous milestone for our great nation. Today, the United States of America marks 248 years of freedom and celebrates the passage of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. Happy birthday to the red, white, and best. While only 4.2% of the world's total population gets to call the USA home, we are blessed by God with great abundance in this country. Not only do we lead as the strongest economy in the world, we benefit from our plentiful natural resources, breathtaking landscapes, and the most powerful military on the planet. But unfortunately, as we come together to celebrate the land of the free and the home of the brave with fireworks and barbecues this Independence Day, this year our gatherings not only come with a significantly higher price tag, they also come with heightened safety concerns as a product of President Biden's wide-open border policies, which have allowed violent offenders to stream across our southern boundary. But it's the dangerous undercurrent that lies beneath the steady flow of illegal immigrants that I'd like to examine with you, and how it's propelled by the discreet yet potent alliance between China and the Mexican drug cartels. In February, I attended a House of Representatives Committee on Natural Resources, Federal Lands Subcommittee field hearing in Sierra Vista, Arizona. The topic was securing the U.S. border. Not one Democratic member of the committee was in attendance, and that is disheartening, because we learned at that hearing that Mexican drug smugglers are treating the wide-open border like a conveyor belt for trafficking fentanyl. According to the Congressional Research Service, at present, most U.S.-destined illicit fentanyl appears to be produced clandestinely in Mexico using chemical precursors from China. Although some fentanyl precursors are subject to international controls, others may be produced and exported legally from certain countries, including China. So Mexican drug cartels are legally buying the chemical precursors to make fentanyl, buying direct from China. Then they press the synthesized fentanyl into pills, and they use their mules to smuggle the highly addictive drugs straight into the United States.
My name is Jim Chilton. I'm a fifth-generation Arizona rancher from Arivaca, Arizona. My border concerns are similar to those of most ranchers in the Tucson sector. Of approximately 100 trails traversing our ranch, we have only 5 cameras, so these video images are a small sample of the persons entering through our ranch. It's hard evidence. These filmed border crossers, as you can see, are wearing camouflage clothes, carpet shoes, and have almost identical backpacks.
Walking right across our unsecured southern border. For further insight, we head to a hearing held by the United States Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs entitled Stopping the Flow of Fentanyl, Public Awareness and Legislative Solutions.
This drug poses an enormous threat to our homeland. It has murdered hundreds of thousands of Americans, destabilized Mexico, destroyed communities, and harmed the integrity of our financial institutions.
I really think that we should be worried about how much China knows that it's destabilizing our country, it's killing our people, it's of course doing tremendous damage to our workforce.
There's not much that Congress can do to make President Xi stop his country from producing the precursor chemicals.
We know that fentanyl, the precursor chemicals, and many of the traffickers themselves are bringing this poison into our country via the southern border.
It's an open, bleeding wound, and it is wide open. And it is wide open by design. This pencil tip, the amount of fentanyl as represented by a pencil tip, will kill you dead. This is 400 grams. This will kill every man, woman, and child in Knoxville, Tennessee.
As we've seen the CBP numbers in fiscal 23, they seized enough fentanyl at the southern border to kill the entire population of the United States.
I mean, China's fundamentally a state-controlled economy. Do you think that they're aware of what's going on? Are we sort of witnessing something like a reverse opium war where they are intentionally allowing this stuff to come into our country because it's killing, 120,000 people a year, and it's significantly impairing a lot more than that?
I do think they can dramatically increase their efforts to negate the precursors of chemicals and everything we're talking about with Chinese money laundering that's happening on WeChat. And that could happen and should happen, and it's not.
Now, because of our open border and the steady flow of fentanyl coming in, the drug is so abundant that you can buy it on the street for as little as $1 a pill. So as our grocery bills are soaring, the price of fentanyl is tumbling. And what's incredibly scary is that the Maricopa County Attorney's Office says the synthetic opioid is 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. And fentanyl's potency and cheap cost are also the reason why drug dealers are mixing it into other drugs, making them more addictive and increasing the risk of a fatal overdose to the unknowing user. Now, the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, commented on the matter. Her remarks say, drug trafficking organizations generate billions of dollars in illicit proceeds every year. They hold some in cash, some in investments, some in real estate, and increasingly, though in small amounts, in digital assets. So how is that money going undetected through the American financial system, especially when it comes to the purchase of real estate? Here's how.
The Mexican cartels don't launder money the way they used to. Now they call 1-800-CHINA, and they have a global network where they're laundering this money right before our very eyes.
Here is how the scheme works. Every day in the United States, the proceeds from the sales of fentanyl and other dangerous drugs are generated in the form of bulk cash. Those proceeds in this example are delivered to a Chinese money laundering broker in the U.S. so they can be laundered. Once that bulk cash is received by that broker, the funds are advanced to the Mexican cartels in Mexico. They are made whole at that point. The Chinese money laundering organization then sells those U.S. dollars to Chinese customers who want to spend money in the United States. This money can be used to fund investments, acquire real estate, cars, pays college tuition. It uses technology to its advantage, transacting primarily via WeChat, which is an encrypted network that is resistant to surveillance by U.S. law enforcement. Agents in the field reported that Chinese money launderers guaranteed immediate payment to the traffickers in their home countries at a cost of only 1% to 2%. That was previously unheard of.
It's as if our president is completely unaware of what's happening.
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money.
The president proved many of us right at the recent debate by showcasing his unscripted disarray.
And those who he...
Yet he refuses to give up the keys to the castle. On the opposing podium, former President Donald Trump demonstrated patience, composure, and great intellect.
He's destroying our country.
Now, his performance showed me that he really wants to win. And you want to hire the guy who really wants the job, not the guy who we passed on twice in 1998 and 2008. and we reluctantly accepted in 2020. Now, although some have referred to President Biden's debate performance as the worst in American history, there were some key moments when he did come alive, including this macho exchange.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest rider. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Fellas, why don't we just skip the drivers and break out the rulers? Then we can actually determine who has the longest putter. Because this was an exaggerated display of masculinity. Now, after his disastrous debate performance, some members of the Democrat Party are urgently pushing for a new nominee, given that Ohio election law requires political parties to certify the presidential ticket by August 7th, so the clock is ticking down. It raises a lot of questions, like who could that nominee be? Well, in an article from The Hill that came out yesterday, the headline reads, Michelle Obama is the only Democrat to beat Trump in a new poll, which is interesting because Senator Ted Cruz has been predicting this for almost a year.
So here's the scenario that I think is perhaps most likely and most dangerous. In August of 2024, the Democrat kingmakers jettison Joe Biden and parachute in Michelle Obama. And I want you to pause and reflect on that.
Oh, I'm pausing and I'm reflecting as we said, and so is everybody else listening right now.
I view this as a very serious danger.
I'm smiling right now because it terrifies me, and I also could totally see this happening.
In terms of a solution that unifies Democrats, there ain't nothing like that. I also think Michelle is not all that eager to run for president, but to parachute in August of 24, a couple of months before the presidency, and suddenly wake up and be president?
Not a bad gig.
It's not a bad gig at all. I do think Barack Obama is already running the Biden administration. I think he is already the puppet master behind this Biden White House. I don't think Joe Biden is the decision maker.
Now you have to wonder, will Michelle Obama actually enter the race? Because she has been documented on many occasions saying she won't do it.
When you made your speech at the last event before the election, when Hillary made her final speech, and then when Oprah made her speech at the Golden Globes, everybody in the country was saying, Oprah for president, Michelle for president. But neither of you seem inclined.
We're not.
Now, although the left truly admires Michelle Obama, particularly for her stance on women's rights, let us not forget the time when she enthusiastically celebrated Harvey Weinstein at the White House.
Have you been having fun? Yes. Oh, I can tell. I want to start by thanking Harvey Weinstein for organizing this amazing day. Harvey. This is possible because of Harvey. He is a wonderful human being, a good friend, and just a powerhouse.
She's clearly a great judge of character. Now, many polls still indicate that Biden is the best option that Democrats have to beat Trump. And with his desperate recovery efforts underway, he made a very short speech, less than 5 minutes, at the White House on Monday. But two things happened at the very end that concern me greatly. After he concluded, he sharply turns his back on reporters and walks out, taking no questions from the press, once again squashing the opportunity for unscripted answers and natural follow-up questioning. The fifth estate of journalism serves as a watchdog over those in power, holding them accountable to the public. And as you'll likely recall, when President Trump was in office, he held many press conferences, and he always took questions from reporters.
Through the month of February, instead of holding rallies with thousands of people, Why did you wait so long
Who you
to
with?
warn them?
Who you with?
And why did you not have social distancing until March 16th?
Who you with?
I'm Leecha Jang with CBS News.
So, if you look at what I did in terms of cutting off or banning China from coming in.
Chinese nationals. But by the way, not Americans who are also
Nice and
coming
easy.
from China.
Nice and easy. Just relax.
Now, before Biden turned his back on the press, one of the last things he said was,
And may God help preserve our democracy.
I didn't appreciate that line at all because it suggests using God as a weapon to gain the upper hand over his opponent. As somebody who loves Jesus more than life, I can tell you he is not to be trifled with. And it's offensive when our leaders pronounce their faith, yet publicly reject his fundamental teachings. We need a president who upholds God's laws, not one who just attends church on Sunday. We need a president who allows us to think and speak freely, rather than imposing the administration's will upon us in a carefully crafted speech and then turns around and walks out of the room. May God draw both candidates and all of us closer to his wisdom. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of The Christina Loren Show, wishing you and your family a beautifully blessed Independence Day.